And welcome into the Friday edition, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser here with you. Hope everybody's off to a marvelous start to their day today. We'll have Jared Stillman joining us on the program coming up at 7 o'clock, TD at 8. Looking ahead to the Titans and the Chargers coming up this weekend. Joe Rexrode, good morning. How are you? Welcome back to the studio.
Thanks. Good to be back. Doing all right, Went up, took me about a minute and 12 seconds to get upstairs. It normally should take about 20 seconds, but that's all right.
It's better than last week.
Yeah, exactly.
Making progress here on the program.
No doubt.
Keyser, how we doing? What's going on?
Morning. Yeah, glad to have you back, Joe. It's
Thanks.
nice to have a third person back in the studio. But how's your knee doing today? What's the progress as it was from like a few days ago?
I just,
He's hooping tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm not hooping.
I hope not.
Somewhat, yeah. Didn't Karski say I'm done? I believe me. I will be hooping more as a result.
He
of
did
this.
say you were done.
Yeah, no, man.
Negative
No.
right from the jump.
The whole point is, gotta shed some LBs.
More athletic than gout.
Yeah,
well,
that's a high bar. Yeah, it's fine. I mean, it's getting better. So I'm going to Bloomington tomorrow. Sure hope that it's not a super long walk to the stadium. I mean, I don't know. There's so much excitement there. Is the parking going to be like 2 miles away? Things like that. But yeah, we're gonna give it a shot.
You need one of those suitcases that has a motor on it and wheels. That way you can just ride it and go.
They make a suitcase with motors on it?
Because I have wheels. Like actually ride your suitcase.
Yeah,
Really?
I've seen it before.
I mean, okay. Well, that's on my Christmas list.
If I get into an airport at some point and somebody runs over me with a suitcase because it's got a motor on it, I will get put on the no-fly list.
Would you
And
not?
if it's Shane Beamer, I'll go to jail.
He would be the dude. He'd have a little beanie on with a little propeller on top, riding a
Sorry.
suitcase. Yeah.
Was looking at how we're not ranked in top 25.
Oh man, you are the biggest.
He's going to be in our
fan.
city tomorrow.
Yeah, he will.
He'll be within.
He'll be in
like,
today.
Yeah.
They'll be in today, man.
he'll be within like 5 miles of me. I'll be at Bridgetown tomorrow night. He's going to be over there at Vandy.
Let's see. The Preds game is at what time?
7.
You could. I mean,
I could
Vandy
probably
game's at 3:50. You go over there and heckle him. You could heckle him for a good
Don't
2.5 hours. You know.
Don't tempt me with a good time. Might have to do that.
Or at least like go wait.
Shane! You suck.
Go wait by they probably are staying like the Marriott right there. Just go like stand by the
Pull the fire alarm.
fans always are out there standing waiting for the team.
Isn't that the thing on the road?
Just scream at Beamer.
Like people have talked about this. Like it happens, a lot of times in Canadian cities in the Stanley Cup playoffs. People will come like pull the fire alarm.
Yeah,
It's like, all right.
Yep. NBA playoffs.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
Celtics Lakers used to always happen.
Yeah.
Celtics team hotel. Yeah. Go do that. Yeah. Go over there and just talk trash.
Might have to.
I know how we always come back to Shane Beamer.
Well, I guess it's my fault. I always bring him up. But man, he gets on my nerves. I sent you that clip yesterday of him. You guys in the media say that they're top 25 and South Carolina's not. It's like, good God, man. All right. Go Vandy. That's the moral of the story.
That's
go
right.
Vandy tomorrow.
There you go. Anchor
Big
down.
time.
Robby says anchor
Down, baby. I'm all for it. Let's get after it tomorrow against South Carolina. One team that did not get after it last night, Joe Rexrode, the Nashville Predators, a 6-2 loss to the reigning Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers. So after a night where you lose the game in Washington, but I do think overall you felt like, all right, maybe a little bit of progress made there, 5-on-5 with the way you played. Just a total no-show last night. I mean, it was over 2 minutes into the game. I mean, they were getting totally outplayed. And look, Florida obviously is good. Florida is probably the best team in the league. They won the Stanley Cup last year. I believe that was their 6th win in a row last night, 5th or 6th win in a row. So they're playing really well right now. So I get all that. It was going to be a tall task, particularly with your backup goaltender walking into Florida and coming out with a win. But, I mean, they got blown off the ice last night. 6-2 was the final, and it just was never close in that game. And now you're 4-9-1. Philadelphia got a shootout win last night, which means you're the only team in the league right now that has not reached double-digit points. You are in 32nd place out of 32 teams in the National Hockey League. Not good for the Nashville Predators.
No, not good at all. Man, when do you really hit the alarm?
I'm getting pretty close.
Some people do early, and I'm usually a not sound the alarm person. something's wrong. I mean, something has to be wrong. And I've said this before this loss, but like beyond just, they can't find their game. But you tell me what the heck it is.
I don't know. We're reaching the point where I'm kind of throwing my hands up with them. I don't really understand it. Now, I mean, we can look at it tactically last night and say, Washington, he took a lot of penalties. Last night there was a ton of penalties, and I know the Predators' penalty kill has been good. And I gave up a couple last night, and then I think one more right after the power play expired. And when you do that against Florida, I mean, you're playing with fire at that point. But even if you're not getting scored on when you're on the penalty kill, like it's just less time that you have to generate offense and to score goals, which has been a major problem for the Predators this year. Tactically, it was once again a game last night where they're giving up odd man rushes. There's defensive zone lapses where it's just like, how are you not covering that guy? So there is still some just tactical things that for whatever reason they're not handling. But I'm with you. Like, they should have figured some of this stuff out by now. There's something broken with them right now. And I don't know how to explain it. I don't know specifically what it is. But right now, they're the worst team in the league. And think about having that conversation before the year. I mean, we're a month into this thing now. They started October the 10th. Today's November the 8th. We're a month in, and they're the worst team in the league. It's pretty mind-boggling. And again, like you have a game against Washington. I know nobody cares about this when you lose, but the process was better. Like they looked like they had a clue what they were doing out there. And then you followed up last night, and it's just a complete reversal once again. That's happened, I don't know, 6 or 7 times so far this year where it's been like, oh, maybe they're figuring it out. Oh, wait, no, they're not in back-to-back games.
Yeah. And like you said, back-to-back against that team on the road, asking a lot.
Yeah.
And then you are chasing the game. I mean, we talked about it yesterday, right? Like how so I saw a stat from Doherty tweeting last night. So I know they've given up the first goal, but they've given up the second goal like 8, or the first 2 goals 8 times. They've
only played 14 games. That's a pretty large percentage of the time.
That's man, that's rough. So it's like if they win their next game, I imagine like someone will talk about some players only meeting they had, but I mean, like how many of those they obviously have to do everything that teams that are in ruts do and see if any of it sticks or works.
Yeah. I mean, yes, they do. I'm getting pretty worried about them. They're 5-10 last year. Burnett talked about that in his post game last night. They were 5-10 last year and they figured it out, which is true. And right now they're 4-9-1. So we're, if you win Saturday. 5-9-1 is better than 5-10 than you were last year. So I guess you got that to look forward to. But I mean, it's a problem right now. And look, people were all over Wedgwood last night. I get it. Like, I think the old 2 things can be true argument with him kind of holds up. He just doesn't look good in there. Like, the first game against Dallas, it was bad. I thought he actually followed it up against Columbus a couple weeks ago and played pretty well. And then last night, it's only the 3rd look we've had at him. But like the first goal, he gets way out of position. Now he actually gets back over and makes the save on the wraparound by Reinhart, but he's so late getting over there that it's so discombobulated in front, and it goes off the pad, off Yossi, in the back of the net. And that's the other part of this that nobody wants to hear, and I get it, and it's not why they're losing. Their luck right now just remains awful. I mean, Washington, they hit, I think, 5 posts in that game. And the first 2 goals of the game last night, the puck went off the pad, off Yossi's stick, and then back in the net. And then the second goal by Tkachuk, he tries to make a pass to the middle. It goes off Brady Shea's stick, then off Wedgwood's pad, right back to the tape of Tkachuk, and he just roofs it. And it's like, that's not helping either. Like, it's a combination right now of them playing like total crap on a lot of occasions. And then when they have opportunities for breaks, they're not getting any of those. And it's kind of funny how that works. That goes hand in hand sometimes when you're not playing very well.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of like, the ball not bouncing their way. And then Brian Callahan, to his credit, is like, well, got to create some of your own luck. And it is. When things are going well, you end up getting more of those breaks. You're playing well, you get more breaks. Play poorly, you get less of those breaks. One time I had a football coach talking about a team that was more talented, compare the team to like basically they have a hard shell, okay? But once you punch through the shell, it's soft and gooey inside. So what we have to do, this coach who's trying to upset this more talented team, is break through the hard shell to the gooey center.
I like that.
And the reason I tell you this is because I just feel like the Preds have a gooey center right now. They don't. I mean, they should have a hard shell because they have way too much talent on paper to be performing like this. But they just seem like they let things get away from them. They multiply mistakes. And, again, some of the stuff like hitting all the posts and crossbars, I think is also like a product of where they are and how they're reacting to it. Like, they need a mental reset.
It ain't getting any easier. I mean, they got Utah coming in tomorrow, which
Utah,
by the
Club.
way, used to be the Arizona Coyotes. And we know this for whatever reason, like the last 4 years, those guys have given this team just an unbelievable amount of trouble.
Yeah.
Really for no reason, like inexplicably. They've just been all over the Predators. So you got them coming in tomorrow, and you got Colorado on the road Monday. And look, Colorado's not good either right now, but it's Colorado on the road.
Sure.
And then there's the Edmonton Oilers with Connor McDavid back in the lineup.
That's the game that turns it all around.
Yep.
Just absolutely silence McDavid and Draisaitl. Launch Arvidsson into the glass. Turn your season around.
Shave Matthias Ekholm's beard
Yeah.
on the ice. You will have none.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, my hands are thrown up in the air. I don't even know. I don't know where to go from here. I don't know what they do. I mean, there's no choice. There's an unbelievable amount of time left in the season. So if they are this bad, my God, this is going to be a long year. Like, can you imagine if this is just what they are, how long of a season this is going to be?
Right. And again, if that's the case, then that my rebuild plan thing, where's that going?
Yeah, I don't know. It's very concerning for the Nashville Predators. We'll see if they can win tomorrow. And then I guess if you wanted a little piece of sunshine, if you're a Predators fan, Stamkos, 3 goals in the last 4 games. Puck's starting to go in.
I'm liking it.
Yeah. Great shot by him last night.
Preds picked a click.
Yeah, you're up 5-1.
Very well for me.
A month in.
Yeah.
5-1 to 1-1. 615.
I'm like a Preds opponent.
You are. 615-737-1025, our phone number. Unbelievable game on Thursday Night Football last night. We'll get into that. Take a look at the AFC picture and how the Titans stack up in that, both now and looking ahead to the future as well. All that coming up. Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063, The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, broadcasting live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios. Oh, the $99 yearly Beehive membership where the buzz is always about great service. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser here with you. What a game last night on Thursday Night Football. Baltimore escapes with a 35-34 win against the Cincinnati Bengals. Cincinnati scored what I thought, Joe, was going to be the game-tying touchdown. And then they went for two, did not get the 2-point conversion, and the Ravens win the game 35-34. Joe Burrow, 34 of 56, 428 yards, 4 touchdowns in that game. And for all of you out there that play fantasy football, I hope you either have Jamar Chase or we're not playing against Jamar Chase.
My goodness.
11 catches, 264 yards, and 3 touchdowns for Jamar Chase last night. 24 yards per catch for Jamar Chase last night. Pretty good.
Unbelievable. The last TD was awesome. It was a thing of beauty. The TD before that was, hey, Ravens.
Might want to
number one,
approach
maybe
him.
Yeah, cover him, maybe. Guy's unbelievable. And huge win for the Ravens, huge loss for the Bengals. I don't think your Bengals are making the playoffs, man.
Yeah, I don't think they are either.
And
it's that Bengals Lions battle of the cats Super Bowl just doesn't look like it's going to happen.
Yeah. I got to say, I just disagree with going for 2. And I'll tell you what, I'll take this to the Chiefs game too. So I know that the Chiefs won in overtime. They won the toss. They won in overtime. So everybody's like, you should have gone over 2. Well, the Chiefs also had the ball midfield, and they had 4th and 2.
Yeah.
And they punted because you don't have to go for it. If they were behind, they go, they get it, they beat you, you don't get overtime. Last night, if you get that 2-point conversion, Lamar Jackson has 38 seconds and 2 timeouts left. He's going to beat you because he has to beat you. He's going to take more chances downfield because he has to, and no one ever thinks about the effect on the other team. If it's at the end of a game and you're playing an opponent like that and you're clearly the inferior opponent and there's no way they have a chance to get you come back on you, then that's different. But people never think of the consequence of getting it.
Right.
So anyway, I first guessed that, and then they didn't get it. And like you said before the show, in our pre-show meeting extensive, we spent about an hour on this, breaking down the film. Yeah,
he was real mad.
Yeah, no, yeah, and I mean they won big last night, and still
he was
just
really mad.
Yeah, fuming about the
Narduzzi wants to fight Beamer too.
Yeah,
a lot of stuff going on.
Oh, he probably really does. And I don't even know. I don't even know if they've crossed paths. But the 2-point conversion, the hold, I mean, both of those things I think are true. I also don't think either of them were like, oh my God, how did you not call it?
They weren't like super egregious, but I do think the Ravens committed 3 penalties on one play.
What was the third one?
Burrow got hit the face mask when he was coming down.
Well, that's one of the ones I was talking about.
There was the hold, and there was pass interference on the play he threw the ball to. Now, that one was the least egregious of the 3, but he got there early.
Yeah, that's one of those. I'd have to watch it again. I thought it was pretty bang. A lot of times that doesn't. But yeah, but the hold, I mean.
But odds are, like, if you're the Bengals, like I would say, like just one of the 3. You don't have to call all of them, but like give me one of the 3.
Yeah. Yeah, and the quarterback won the way that they obviously call some of those things, as you point out often. And that one was,
he did it in the
it was
face.
Callable.
It was callable.
Yeah. So anyway,
Mike just
Ravens
very upset after they did not call the holding penalty on that play. Just looking at the fish, he looked at the ref and was just like, "What? What are we doing?" It was pretty funny. But that's pretty much it for the Bengals. I mean, I shouldn't say that. It's not totally it. They're 4-6. The thing is, like, Burrow is playing at a super high level. Like, Burrow looks really good. Obviously, Chase was just unbelievable last night. Their defense, after playing pretty well to start the game, the Ravens got on a roll offensively where they just could not stop him. Yeah. They could not stop him. And Lamar's probably going to win his 3rd MVP. He's playing at a super high level right now.
Yeah, it's hard.
Maybe the best he's ever played.
He's incredible. And that's I think the way he extends plays, sees the field, and throws the ball right now. It's just he is impossible to pin down. Again, they would have come right down and I know that their guy missed an extra point. One of the greatest kickers of all time. But
That's pretty wild.
But he would have been. I mean, the Bengals are looking at, let's see, at Chargers, Steelers, at Cowboys, at Titans, Browns, Broncos. I mean, they do. I will say their schedule. They've had a lot of tough games.
That's true.
Already, and like the Commanders, you didn't realize that was such a tough game, right? And of course, now they've been swept by the Ravens, who we know is a Super Bowl contender. Chiefs, obviously, Super Bowl contender.
And I will also say
they could sneak in.
For as good as we've hyped up like the AFC to be, it kind of sucks this year. Like, look at the Broncos right now are the 7th team. Like, the Broncos are in the playoffs. Does anybody think the Broncos are actually like all that good?
No, I just watched them go to Baltimore and play the exact same team in the exact same place and look like they were an FCS team playing Tennessee.
Well, right now they'd be in. And then the 8th seed in the AFC right now is Indianapolis. Anybody believe they're all that good? And there's the Jets and the Titans and the Dolphins and the Browns and the Jags and the Raiders and the Patriots. AFC is really not that great.
Yeah, you know what? That's the thing. That's where it's good to look because last night my thought was, yeah, man, they're toast. But I think they're going to get in still. If they stay healthy,
so you're telling me there's a chance.
Yeah, I mean their defense is not good. Their defense is not good. It's ultimately going to keep them from doing anything big. But man, they're just too good throwing the ball, right? Like first of all, we deserve to have them in the playoffs because they're too fun.
Thing is, like if you're Houston right now, and look, I totally recognize that we're still just an absolute ton of football left to play. So, like, quite frankly, looking at playoff standings right now is probably not the smartest thing for me to be doing. But I will say,
halfway point though.
If the season ended today, my favorite phrase in sports.
Mm-hmm.
Congratulations to the Houston Texans. You've won the division. You get your home playoff game. And who do you have to play in the first round as your wild card? Here's Baltimore for you. Have fun with that.
Oh my, is that right?
It's 4-5 right now.
Yep. Oh, good for you. Yeah. That's the thing. See, they will win the division. I think going away, Houston will. They had a tough one against the Lions.
They do
Sunday night, but I still think that Baltimore is ultimately going to win the AFC North by like 2 games.
I would agree.
I mean, look, I love that the Steelers are good. I love that the Steelers are. I mean, the Steelers are giving up 119 freaking points, man. Like they have a legit D. If you put their D with like the Ravens offense, then you'd have like the greatest team ever. But I think the Ravens are clearly the class of the AFC North.
So you got Kansas City at 1, Buffalo at 2, Pittsburgh at 3, Houston 4, Baltimore 5, the Chargers, who the Titans will see Sunday, at 6, Denver at 7. Those are your 7 playoff teams at the moment in the AFC. How far are the Tennessee Titans behind the best in the AFC, both now and looking ahead to the future? We'll get into that coming up next. Take your thoughts, 615-737-1025. Jared Stillman will be with us at 7 o'clock. All that ahead, Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063, The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Tune in to 102.5 The Game this Sunday for coverage of the NASCAR Cup Series Championship. Coverage will begin following the Vanderbilt men's basketball game. Coverage also available on the 102.5 The Game app and at thegamenashville.com. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Jordan in Nashville says the Bengals shouldn't have gone for two at the end, but also shouldn't have thrown the deep shot on 4th and 2 in the fourth quarter when they could have kicked a 40-yard field goal. Jared from Spring Hill says, yeah, these Bengals is what we brought in. Bunch of losers. It's from Jared from Spring Hill.
Yeah, what have they ever done? Never won a lick. They come here and take this job. Losers. I will say it's a rough year for the, Zach and Brian crew.
It is
split up.
They're combined 6-12, I think. Quick math off my head.
Bengals are 4-6 now?
I believe so.
Yeah, you're right. Good math.
Thank you.
So, but again, I changed my take mid-segment. I think the Bengals are still going to make the playoffs.
It's hard to have confidence in the Broncos. I have no idea about the Chargers. I haven't watched a ton of Chargers. I guess we'll begin to find out on Sunday.
They can coexist in the playoffs. Those two. Yeah, basically to me, the question would be, because I'd totally Colts sell on all that. The question would be, can the Jets or Dolphins, in my mind, either of them put together a run? And
right.
I think both are capable. Actually, kind of like the Dolphins, you do see the difference, right? Tua can play, man. Yeah.
What time do the rest of the games start?
That's a good question.
At noon?
Probably. They might get flexed out of. Somebody just got flexed out of.
Yeah.
Oh, was it a Colts game that got flexed?
It was
out?
a Colts game.
Yeah, good. It was flex them out.
I think Colts Jets. I think it was.
Yes, it was Colts Jets. Yeah, no one wants.
Thank God.
Yeah, exactly. No one wants to watch that crap. No one wants to watch Flacco. Okay, so, but if not for one of those teams, either are possible. I think the Bengals, of course, have a better record than both of them. But they're same in the loss column. But I think last night, build on that, because the Ravens they're so hard to deal with. And Henry didn't even have a great game, but he's still late in the game. Here's 5, here's 8. For him, they are, and their receivers are good.
So the Titans are 2-6. At times, watching the Ravens last night, it kind of felt like watching a different sport than what we've seen for the Titans so far this year. We have head-to-head evidence between the Bills and the Titans and what that looked like. Bills are number 2 in the conference right now. The Titans have not played, nor will they play, Kansas City. They have not played, nor will they play, the Pittsburgh Steelers. They will see Houston twice. But kind of like those top 5 right now, Kansas City's kind of its own thing, right? They're 8-0. They still have not looked great offensively this year, although looked a lot better last Monday night when DeAndre Hopkins is catching 2 touchdowns. They're 8-0. We'll see how far they can take that undefeated streak. Baltimore is at 7-3, and they're playing right now as well as anybody. And you watch some of these upper echelon teams in the AFC, and the conversation on them really is no different than what we've talked about for a while. If you're the Titans here, whether it's this year or 5 years from now, likelihood is 5 years from now, you're going to be looking around the AFC and you're going to say, Patrick Mahomes is still there. Lamar Jackson is still there. Josh Allen still playing pretty good football for Buffalo. The equation's not changing anytime soon when it comes to the AFC and what you have to go through. The Titans feel far away from a lot of things right now, competing for a Super Bowl at the top of that list that they're very far away from right now. How far away are they from getting back to being competitive, which, by the way, they were for a stretch of time with some of these upper echelon teams in the AFC? How do you go about trying to view that if you're a Titans fan right now?
See, as you say that, I'm looking at the standings online. I just flipped back to 21 when the Titans were the number 1 seed, and Josh Allen was there.
Yep.
Game behind the Titans. And Joe Burrow was there. A couple games behind the Titans because they beat the Titans in the playoffs. But you know what I'm saying?
Mahomes.
He was there. Lamar Jackson was there. Patrick Mahomes was there. Same record as the Titans. That's right, because the Titans beat them head-to-head. Yep. So that's why they – so 3 years ago, the exact same situation existed with the quarterback, the top quarterbacks, and you were the number 1 seed. So now, first of all, why? Well, some people won't acknowledge the truth, although that year was not the absolute glaring examples. It wasn't his best season, but some people don't want to acknowledge the truth that they had very good quarterbacking. But let's take quarterbacking out of the equation.
Yep.
Because obviously they have to answer that question. You know, how if they had good quarterbacking, what would the Titans be? Just good quarterbacking. What would this team be?
I would say, what are they right now? 2-6. So I would add at least 2 more wins. So 4-4.
So if they had good quarterbacking, they'd be, a team right there in the playoff.
They're not beating
race.
Buffalo, not beating Detroit.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And then, what are they in the AFC race? You
Right.
know, I mean, again, we can talk about how the stats continue every week to say Titans number 1 defense in the NFL, and then you can sort of, look at the reality of that. And one of the realities of that is short fields because of the worst special teams in the NFL.
Correct.
And also your own turnovers on offense. But they do have, I mean, like if you could play, quote, complementary football with a good enough quarterback with what you have on defense. And again, they're doing these things without L'Jarius Sneed. Yeah. I don't expect to see him out there. I mean, he's just not participating. Got that quad. That quad sure is a problem. Chidobe Awuzie now, I think, Callahan sounded a little more optimistic about him this week, possibly coming back. But what if what if this defense wasn't saddled with all the other things it's saddled with, Yeah,
it's a good question. I mean, like the defense, we've talked about this. The numbers would tell you they're very good. Like the yardage numbers, all those things. And look, they had a pretty good game Sunday. Now they played an abysmal team, an abysmal offensive line. And again, in a big moment, Joe, like they needed to make a stop and they let the quarterback run around for 15 seconds back there and tie the game. Now they ended up making a big play in overtime. So there was some big plays that they made in the game. But I still think there's been too many times this year defensively where the numbers all look good and the yardage and all that looks good. But when you need to come up with like a big play in a big moment, they've just not done it. So it's nowhere near the top of the list of their problems. Offensively is a big problem. Special teams is just a joke. But we're 8 games into this, and I still look at the defense, the numbers, and say, yeah, how good are they actually, though? Like, that's still my reaction to what we're watching defensively out there.
And then the offensive line, actually, I think has gotten better. But again, you take opponents into account and things like that. But all the numbers beyond just sacks, which have gone way down, but even pressures and all that stuff, I mean, it's gotten better.
Yep.
So, I think the question is, because to me, like this front office, in my opinion, you can't have 3 terrible years in a row.
For sure.
Right? So I look at, like, if I'm Amy, then I'm looking at, like, next year you have to – in this league, you absolutely should go from terrible to pretty good and be a playoff contender. You can do that any year, so that has to be part of it. And obviously, like, what's your free agency look like? Is it better than last year? Because right now, last year looks rough.
It does.
And then what's your draft? And do you have instant impact from your draft? And then, again, next year, can you be a competitive team? So if you shore up right tackle, you have a good running back, you have – again, there's still some questions like, I don't know, is Sneed and Uzi, are they ever going to be anything? Ridley, is he going to be good now? It has to be. But you obviously have to add there. You obviously have to add at right tackle.
Edge.
You obviously have to add at edge and safety too.
Yeah.
But, you got good corners if they're healthy. You've got a very good safety in Hooker, pretty good linebacker in Murray. I think, I'm looking at the whole thing, like, it's not impossible. You have to really have a great offseason, but it's not impossible to shore up these things and be like a 9-8 kind of. But now again, I've taken quarterback out of the equation,
right?
So those things you can do. The question is, if you are, and I know I'm trying not to get too much into the offseason draft, all that stuff, but if you are going draft, like, okay, it's time to get the next quarterback, that's where it gets harder to do some of these other things.
Well, that's the thing. Like, to me, it still feels pretty far away to me. I mean, there's so much that has to go right for them over the offseason, right? Like, we talked about this when they made all the moves this offseason. Everybody was like, okay, cool. They made a lot of moves. They spent a lot of money. One of the questions we threw out there was, what's the likelihood that all of these work, right? Like, the likelihood is they're not all going to work. Now, I thought a few more might work than what we've seen so far, so it's kind of swung the other way on that. But if you get in the offseason, take quarterback aside, you got to find the right tackle. You definitely have to find at least one, maybe two young wide receivers to add to this group. Edge rusher for sure. You've got to find. Safety is something. Like, there's still a lot to do if you're the Titans this offseason. What's the likelihood? Not even that you address all of it, but that you effectively address all of it. To me, it still seems pretty far-fetched that they're going to be able to do that in one offseason, and that's not even factoring in quarterback, which is the most important part of all this.
So another thing that you take into account is, I mean, it's job security. You know, your front office, you're trying to keep your job, right? So, like, you have to be better next year, right? So does that make it more likely that these guys think veteran QB and sort of like shorter term fix again? Like,
Maybe.
I mean, if we're going to make the Lions comparison, which again, there's a lot of flaws in that comparison, but that's what they did.
Yeah.
You know, they said, okay, we'll take on a guy who's pretty good and see where it goes. And we know where it is right now. So what's the answer there? I don't know, but I'm just saying, I wonder if the situation means you can't afford to then bring in a rookie and either throw him out there too early and suffer with that, or sit him and what?
And the other thing, and
could be Levis.
If I'm a Titans fan, I'd be worried about this too. If things continue to go the way they're going right now, they're going to need a quarterback. Like, unless there's significant improvement from Levis, they're going to need a quarterback next year. What I'd be worried about if I'm a Titans fan is they get to the draft, this quarterback class really isn't that great, but they look at it and they say, well, we need a quarterback.
Right.
So let's just take one.
Let's
just do it. Let's take a quarterback. And then you end up right back in the same cycle that they've been in far too often.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, I from afar, when the Titans took Jake Locker, I remember being like, what?
Yeah.
Dude, that's not going to work.
It did not
Great
work.
athlete, but no.
It did not work.
Yeah.
615-737-1025, our phone number. How far away do you think the Titans are from being competitive in the AFC? We'll take more of your thoughts on that. A lot of your thoughts are already weighing in on the text line, so we'll get to more of those coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025-1063, The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Taking your thoughts on the Titans. We'll have Jared Stillman join us at 7 o'clock, coming up here in about 10 minutes. Let's go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in Javier. Javier, good morning. Thanks for calling in.
Hey, good morning.
What's going on?
Man, I'm just telling you, I just think that they just need to give Levis a little bit more time, to get good in the pocket, and they need to have some better, they need to cover him a lot better. Don't let him go, because I think, me being a Bears fan, and the stuff that's going on in Chicago with Williams, and then you're going to go to another quarterback and to another quarterback and another quarterback. I know it sounds crazy, but, I think he'll come out of it. He's a really good quarterback. You know what I'm saying? You just need you guys need to have some, a better offensive line to cover him well. And, I think he'll spring out of it, honestly.
Yep. Thanks for the call, Javier. I always like the.
It's good to have that.
It's good to have that perspective because we have not received a lot of that in the last 2 months.
And it's not the craziest thing in the world that Will Levis could still be good, right? I think that most people think that's just that ship has sailed. We're
not seeing him play again at some point. I think we're going to see that this week.
Yeah, I know. It's almost like the season starting again, for him. But it doesn't erase what has happened previously when he played. But, yeah, it's another opportunity. I think, I assume we'll hear today probably. Maybe he'll get a questionable designation, but it kind of seems like
he was full yesterday.
Full yesterday, probably trending toward him playing.
I would say probably so. Let's go back to our 102.5 The Game phone line. Welcome in Larry. Larry, good morning. Thanks for calling in.
Yeah, I love your show. Hey, listen.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Listen, why don't they eat some crow and bring Tannehill back for a couple of years and let him be the number one? Of course, you have to make sure you get that right tackle to protect him,
Yeah, he won't come back here.
Thank
you, but he won't come back here. Like Ryan Tannehill, I think would rather go deep sea fishing with his bare hands than come back here and play quarterback for the Tennessee Titans.
Well, and it's not just like, first off, yes, the Titans, it did not end well, and you could tell he's pretty frustrated with the way things played out at the end of last year. And I think that dates back to a couple of things. Number one, the trading of A.J. Brown. Number two, the drafting of Malik Willis in the spot where they drafted him. And then eventually the drafting of Will Levis as well. Like, he never outright said it. But, I mean, even in the Rossini podcast a few months ago, it was just like, well, you're spending draft picks on quarterbacks when you could be spending those draft picks on players to help the current team.
Yeah.
He talked about that. So it did not end well between him and the Titans. He's not landed anywhere so far this year. I do think, and look, maybe it still happens at some point, but I do think had a quarterback gone down on a contending team and had that team approached him, he probably would have said yes. But the Titans are not a contending team. It did not end well here. I don't think he would give any consideration whatsoever to that.
Look, if you're someone out there who thinks Ryan Tannehill isn't playing the league because he's not good enough to be someone's backup, you're dumb. I'm sorry. Or at least you're dumb on that topic. Maybe not overall dumb, but just you may be good at balancing your checkbook.
Tana dumb.
That's a very it's a very bad dumb opinion. He's holding out. It could happen. You don't want it to happen, but I'm just saying it could happen that an actual contending level team loses its starting quarterback for the season, and I think that Ryan Tannehill is the first call of any team that happens to, easily. And I think he probably gives it another year to see that scenario, and he does not want to go somewhere and just be a QB2. And I don't blame him.
Yeah.
I like
a ton of money.
Well, and I think that exactly, he's made a ton of money, and I think that watching what happened with Flacco last year is a good example of sometimes just kind of waiting it out is the best way.
Now, we are getting pretty late. Like, it's week, 10 in the NFL?
Yeah.
So it's, we're getting pretty late.
It would have to happen pretty soon here.
Yeah. Like, if you get into, if somebody goes down week 16, you giving Ryan Tannehill a call at that point? I don't know. Maybe you do, but you're talking about, a long time since he's played football.
I mean, it depends on who you are. Like, Actually, it's funny because for people who remember 8 years ago, Ryan Tannehill had a Pro Bowl season for the Dolphins, was having an amazing season.
Yeah.
And then he got hurt late, tore his ACL. And who was it? Nat Moore?
Matt Moore. Yeah.
Matt Moore.
Yeah.
Not Nat Moore. Who's Nat Moore?
I don't know who Nat Moore is.
But yeah, let's
I'm sure somebody out there.
I don't know who else would have been available in 2016 at that point, but maybe the Dolphins wish they would have tried, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'd still leave the door open for that possibility. Just not here. Like he's not.
No,
I think the Titans, let's say they played out the Larry scenario there and was just like eat a little bit of crow. I don't think there's any amount of crow they could eat where he'd be like, yeah, I'll come back and be your starting quarterback next year.
He's not going anywhere where he doesn't have a chance to contend for a ring.
Exactly. So, yeah, the quarterback part of this, and that goes into the veteran part too. Like how many veteran quarterbacks are going to be available this offseason if that's the route you decide to go. And Carthon looks at the roster and Brinker and they say, you know what, we feel like there's some holes that, you could patch this offseason. And if you bring in a veteran quarterback, maybe next year you're right there to being at least a playoff contender. Maybe not making the playoffs, but being a playoff contender. But who's out there? What's going to happen with Sam Darnold after this year? Is there somebody that comes available via trade? And if they do, like what sort of asset you giving up via trade to go get a veteran quarterback at this stage? Like there's not at the moment, and this could change quickly in this league. At the moment, there's not a ton of options out there at quarterback veteran wise.
No, but yeah, the trade thing certainly is possible. Is Russ on a one? Russ on a one? Is that right?
I think so.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't.
They keep playing like this, he'll probably stay in Pittsburgh. But
could be. Yeah, could be. I mean, I would if he does it, and I just think inevitably there's going to be some reality there. Then I would not be super excited about that. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking through the possibility. It's like what's the deal with Stafford?
Yeah.
Somebody like that. It's not great. I mean, Hendon Hooker.
It always goes back to
going back to Hendon Hooker.
By the way,
Justin Fields. Like is Justin Fields?
I would not do that.
I think I was still kind of holding out hope with him with the Steelers, and I just think it's the same sort of thing. Javier called earlier. They're not going to be doing this with Caleb Williams. No. I don't think. Like they are going to stick it out with him, and I think he's going to be good.
Well, he showed enough where it's like, okay, you can see some of it.
Yes. With Justin Fields, they gave him his opportunity. I mean, Trubisky and Fields, I think they both had plenty of opportunity. They just weren't good enough.
Yeah,
I don't think that the Bears are at fault for that other than making the choices of those quarterbacks.
By the way, a lot of people texting in, Santa in Portland, JC in Goodlettsville. Nat Moore played with the Dolphins in the 80s, wide receiver.
Yes.
Santa in Portland says 74-86, Nat Moore, wide receiver for the Dolphins.
Okay.
So he had the right team.
Thank you. So now that brings it to mind, one of my favorite Super Bowls was Washington over Miami. I became a huge Redskins fan and John Riggins, and the A-Team world premiere was that night after that on NBC, and Nat Moore was on that team. And David Woodley was the Dolphins quarterback in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And then they drafted Dan Marino.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah, pretty good stuff there. Nat Moore, shout out.
Nat Moore, thank you.
On the program.
Thank you for that.
Second greatest shout out we've ever had behind Dan Fouts, who friend of the show.
Who was in his prime at that season. They should have gone to the Super Bowl that year.
Yeah, no doubt about it. We'll have Jared Stillman with us coming up next. Get his thoughts on the Titans, his thoughts on the struggling Nashville Predators as well. All that coming up. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Hour number 2, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser, intern Robert here with you on this Friday morning. And we welcome in our friend Jared Stillman to the program as we do every Friday morning at 7 o'clock. Jared, good morning. How are you?
I'm good, guys. I'm good. I see you guys on the stream. I'm in the middle. I feel like Ann B. Davis is Alice on the Brady Bunch back in the day, right there in the center. I see that smile, Joe.
Okay, I
feel
like the
Kaharski
reference.
with hair sitting here in the middle between you two.
A little less yelling so far. We can probably change that here at some point. But
I'm actually pretty impressed with Jared's age and his Brady Bunch
that was good.
knowledge. The Brady Bunch song was great. As I've told you, the Give Peace a Chance, that didn't really hit. That was kind of a miss there. Didn't you do another song recently?
Yeah.
You're really
we did
big
the,
on
Mary Tyler Moore theme song with Brian Callahan tearing up to the
You're gonna make it after all.
Right.
Again,
That was
again, you're making these references to when I was actually alive as a child. I appreciate it.
Pretty good stuff. So, Jared, let's start with the hockey team. They lose again last night, 6-2, the final score. Right now, statistically and by the numbers, they are the worst team in the National Hockey League. And it's kind of reaching the point to me where I'm just kind of throwing my hands up. I mean, it feels like they made a little bit of progress against Washington with the way that they played. And then last night back to being a total dumpster fire out there. What do you make of all this? And are you running out of faith that they're going to pull their way out of this?
Well, I mean, I think that there's kind of three things that the three options they have right now. I think the first option is, just keep waiting for them to gel, for them to turn the corner, for them to whatever, and I think that they are entitled, this is just my opinion, entitled through the long road trip before I think I'd, be really turning over the room or making changes. But that's the first thing is, how much longer do you let them figure it out, quote unquote? The second question is, okay, Trotz kind of alluded to this about, hey, I'm not going to take out Stamkos or Marchessault or Yossi or those guys, but I'll take everybody else out. And when do you start doing that? When do you start bringing up Kimmel or bringing up Ozzy Weisblatt, who they seem to love, or Reed Schaefer, or, some of these guys that they've got at Milwaukee to just kind of turn over the room? Do you do that now? Do you wait until the long road trip and then after the long road trip say, okay, now I'm bringing the kids up and Joakim Kimmel is going to be playing wing on a line with Stamkos at center and Marchessault on the other side? I don't know that. And then the third is the coach. And I'm not there on the coach yet. Twitter, Robbie, I think you can probably agree with, is getting there inch by inch when it comes to the coach. And last night was the first night. And again, I think Andrew Burnett's a good coach. I wouldn't fire him. But last night was the first night of this whole debacle of a season so far that I thought to myself, this is a bad reflection of the coach, because he was on their rear ends. They went to Washington. They did play a solid game, even though they didn't win or pick up a point, which I thought was a little overblown given the fact that I think they needed points. But he was complimentary of the way they played. And then they come out, and as soon as it's 2-0 before you can blink.
It was over.
That team, they never put up a fight last night. They never tried to get back into the game last night. And that was the first game, where they truly looked like the Washington Generals against the Harlem Globetrotters. And I thought to myself, this is not a good reflection of the coach or what's going on in that room right now, or how much effect he's having on the room. And that's concerning.
Jared's face is just gigantic in the middle there. It's like, I don't know. It's
but
like
we're a little bit
the
more zoomed
Wizard
out.
of Oz. Yeah. So you said they didn't try? Is that what you said? You said they didn't try to get back in the game last night? Are you saying they played with no effort, Jared?
I mean, they didn't try, in my opinion, to get back in the game. I think.
I think you should fire everybody then if they're not trying.
I think they just once it got to 2-0, I think they put their heads down, packed their bags, and got on the plane.
Yeah, skating around that ice, taking checks, giving checks, just sort of out there ice dancing. Maybe a little figure eight here and there. No, that makes sense. Hyperbole from Jared, but I will say, you already brought up, you introduced the firing the coach thing. Yeah, it will not be long, in my opinion.
First of all,
before you're ready to fire the coach.
I did not introduce it on the station. Adam Vingan is the one who has been introducing the firing the coach.
That's true.
What did Vingan
and
say?
Twitter has been talking left and right about needing to fire the coach, which I don't agree with.
Yeah, Twitter does a lot of things.
I have two thoughts on this firing the coach thing. Number one, I think Burnett's a good coach, and I think it's way too soon. But it's bad. And the results right now are unacceptable. The second thought is, and I hate when we do this because, it's not our job to decide, well, they're not going to do it, so let's not talk about it. If they should do it, we should talk about it. Even if they're not going to do it, Barry Trotz's not going to fire the coach. I would be stunned if Andrew Burnett did not finish this season as the head coach of the Nashville Predators.
I agree.
Specifically because of who the general manager is. But don't get on me about this. Vingan's the one that started it. And then, of course, there's the fans. And this is the NHL. Guys get fired off the bench. It happens all the time.
Yeah. So Vingan's actually saying he should be?
I don't know if he's saying he should be, but he's just throwing it like this is a league where people get fired a lot. Now, you get fired more in this league as a coach than just about any other league. So
for sure.
That definitely has been something that's gone on. On the Titans front, Jared, we were talking about this. And let's just remove who the decision makers are for a moment and look at what decisions have to be made. If this continues this way, they're going to be bad. They're going to be picking high in the draft. They got to figure out quarterback, right tackle, edge rusher, wide receiver at bare minimum heading into next year. How doable is that? How far away are the Titans from being competitive in your mind?
So I know exactly why you said, let's take the decision makers out of this because you don't want me to turn this into me and Joe yelling about Rand Carthon.
That's correct.
I mean, I would say this. John Robinson's first year, regardless of whether or not John Robinson was a good general manager or was the worst thing that ever happened to the Titans, according to some people on Twitter, the first year they were the worst team in the league. You guys remember 2015, and I think they changed 7 starters on offense in that first year. They added a couple of players on defense and immediately went from the worst team in the league to competing the second to last week of the year for a playoff spot. Now, that team already had a quarterback in place. Granted, it wasn't a superstar quarterback, but they had a quarterback. I think this is the NFL. Like, I think in the NFL, Washington has proven it this year. Houston proved it last year. Jacksonville the year before. You have a good offseason, you can be right there competing in the mix. And so the Titans are going to have the difference in payroll between what's already committed for next year and what they're spending this year is about $100 million. I think that number should be around 150 because the Titans are currently, I think, 26th in the NFL in payroll. So let's bump that spending up a little bit. I don't think if things continue the trend that they're on now, I saw Joe's bold prediction in The Athletic that Will Levis is going to be the quarterback next year. So there would be a hope that the
Say
Titans
that
would
again.
improve.
What was my bold prediction?
That Will Levis is not going to be the quarterback next year.
Did he not just say that
He
he's
said he
going
was
to be
going
the
to be.
quarterback?
Yeah.
Yes, you just totally said
You
it wrong.
misspoke. It's
You
okay.
said the opposite of the truth. Not the first
What
time.
was it?
Keep going.
Was it your bold prediction that Levis isn't going to do anything? the
Yes,
rest
you
of the year
just
to
said
prove
that I
he's
said he would be. It's fine. It's fine.
okay,
We're
whatever.
used to it from you.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, so like they're going to have a different quarterback next year. I think we would assume. And so my whole point being that I think that like there's no reason that they should be terrible next year. But let me throw in a caveat that if they go out there and they draft guards and run stuffing defensive tackles with their high premium picks and they ignore right tackle again and they spend their money on injured players and they keep Will Levis at quarterback, then even with $150 million, they're not going to win anything. And I think you know what I'm getting at with that.
Yes.
I actually love the idea of them saying, I think we're going to be okay at right tackle, actually.
That would be pretty awesome.
I'm rooting for it. I'm here for
I
it.
would like to put my tinfoil hat on here for a second.
No.
Okay.
Do
If
you
I
ever
may.
take it off?
I think I know where this is going.
Do you
but go
ever
ahead.
take it off?
You know where this is going because I told you this yesterday.
Yes.
So, I mean, look, it might be a conspiracy theory. It might not. I find this L'Jarius Sneed quad thing to be a little fishy. Again, he hasn't practiced this week. I think he's been out for like a month, right? He missed the Buffalo game, the Detroit game, the New England game, this game, and they had did he play the Indy? Yeah, I think he played the Indy game and he got toasted.
Yeah.
Twice in the Indy game. So he played the Indy. So he's been out for a month. He's not practicing. And TD said that it was a helmet to the quad, and then they did an MRI, and that the MRI said that it was way worse than they initially believed. Now, I'm trying to sit here to think to myself, outside of a helmet impact to the quad, tearing the bone or tearing the muscle off of the bone, what could be so bad that L'Jarius Sneed would not practice or play for a month with what sounds probably like a quad bruise?
So you think
I
it's
mean,
a knee?
it seems. again, I'm just saying it seems fishy when you and I both know that if L'Jarius Sneed's knee was the problem right now, everybody would be going nuts. I just think this is so fishy. So fishy. The L'Jarius Sneed thing. Like, when's he plan on playing again?
I don't know.
I mean, look, Jared, you're the same dude who told us Rand Carthon wasn't on the Christmas card, which is why he's going to be fired. So this take is not crazy at all. For you, this is actually kind of well reasoned. I'm not with you, but I mean, like, I'm not going to rip this one.
It's pretty wild. People probably hung up their digitized version of Amy and Vrabel in Santa hats, and then 3 weeks later, Vrabel was fired.
It is a tough one. And
That's like sending out a Christmas card of your family and getting divorced 2 weeks later.
One of the last images as Mike Vrabel's the Titans head coach on that Christmas card right there.
I never got
just
one.
wanna
I never
know,
got one.
Joe,
I'd like to see it.
I just want to know if Joe buys the L'Jarius Sneed fishiness here. Or
Well,
if Joe's like, no, it was a helmet to the quad. They said it was a helmet to the quad, so it must be a helmet to the quad, and he must be okay.
I don't know. I actually early on the show, I'm like, wow, that quad really hurting, Hunt L'Jarius. I mean, it's
been a long time for the quad.
It's been a minute.
Like, did he tear his quad? Because if so, I don't know if he's coming back anytime
Right,
soon.
like, why wouldn't he just be on IR then?
I don't know.
And Brian Callahan is like the single most transparent coach with injuries in the history of the NFL. He's like the new Mike Tomlin. You know, Mike Tomlin gets up there and is like, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about the injuries. Ben has a sore elbow. He will be questionable for the game, but he will play. It's like, you know, Vrabel's like, and then all of a sudden Callahan gets Callahan's like, after the game against the Patriots, like, and
that's how he starts.
We didn't have much on the injury front.
Oh boy.
But I'm proud of those boys. And it's like, now with Sneed, it's like, so what's the deal? Like, what's the deal with this quad? He's out for a month? What? Because he took a helmet to it? Like, was the helmet like one of those Roman Empire helmets with the spikes on the top? And it like, what happened to the quad?
Hey, Gladiator 2 is coming out soon. Maybe just getting in the spirit.
Starring L'Jarius Sneed.
Yeah, who knows? Well, don't worry. Hendon Hooker's going to be on the way to save this franchise in the offseason, so it's all good.
And they'll have the extra second-round pick they should have gotten for dealing Harold Landry. Although Joe lowering it from a first, I thought was very generous of him.
Hey, like I said, I'm just setting prices here. I'm not saying
all these
it's going to
guys are
happen.
going for like
I'm just setting prices.
6th-round pick swaps, and Joe's like, I think my guys were the first.
The Lions needed to be completely desperate, but unfortunately, Zadarius Smith walked through that door. So
he did.
We never got to it.
Just ruined it. Jared, thank you so much.
Maybe they could get a condition on the Harold Landry thing where if Harold Landry plays 95% of the snaps, and they win the Super Bowl, and he has 6 sacks in the Super Bowl, that it'll go from a 7th to a 6th.
Not far off from a condition that we've seen.
All right, get your big face off our stream.
Off. Thank you, Jared.
See you guys.
Jared Stillman, our guest on Robby and Rexrode. Lots to react to there. We'll do that next. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, the game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. We'll have the Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode coming up at about 7:45. Teron Davenport, ESPN NFL Nation Titans reporter, will be with us at 8 o'clock, so looking forward to that. Make sure you tune in to 94.9 The Fan tomorrow for Vanderbilt football. Commodores taking on South Carolina. Gross. With pregame beginning at 1:30, kickoff at 3:15. Coverage also available on the 94.9 The Fan app and at thegamenashville.com. Lots to sift through there in our conversation with Jared.
Right.
What do you make of his L'Jarius Sneed quad injury theory? Did somebody on the Colts have a spike on the end of their helmet that we just missed?
Yeah, that was pretty funny. Well, Mitchell on the text line driven by WilsonCountyHoney.com takes Jared to task. Says, tell Jared he needs to look up hematoma and compartment syndrome. I can guarantee this is what Sneed is dealing with since the MRI showed more damage than they initially thought. Compartment syndrome, my understanding is that can be a bit of an emergency, as we saw with Ryan Johansson.
That is correct.
A while ago. But, yeah, look, I'm not going to sit here and pretend. I mean, I made the joke earlier, like, wow, that quad, huh? Because you usually think a quad is like a week or two, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know all the different variations of a quad issue.
Yeah.
I mean, that is like if it is a knee and the Titans are lying, I believe that would be a real problem.
That would be a problem.
Right?
Yeah.
With the league. So, but, that weird stuff with Joe Burrow and his wrist last, stuff happens.
It's happened.
I don't, look, again, on the Jared scale of crazy, it doesn't really register near the top.
I will say this. My belief is that L'Jarius Sneed probably dealing with a quad injury, like you
That's
said.
probably what it is.
If it's not, and it gets uncovered that it's not, and they're like lying about it, then that's going to be a problem with the National Football League. So now I do understand this from the standpoint of like if it was a knee and he's been dealing with that like the last 4 games, can you imagine what the reaction of Titans fans would be?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Oh, good. You gave up a 3rd-round
Right.
pick for a guy that we knew who had knee problems, and now he can't play.
Yeah. No, that's just a complete huge L for Rand in that front office. This is, again, not me ripping Jared. JC in Goodlettsville. Joe, he says in every take, the pro and the con, the caveat, so he can say he was right. Titans will compete next year with the caveat that if they don't sign bad free agents and don't draft properly, he will be correct either way. He does this all the time. I don't know. I just my biggest issue was the large face and they didn't Preds didn't try. They're not good. I don't think you can
Certainly
not
right now.
try in the National Hockey League and not get hurt, not get completely humiliated.
Yeah, I don't think it was a lack of trying last night. No, there was a lot of stupidity last night. They took some bad penalties. Burnett after the game last night was just like, yeah, I mean, you take this amount of penalties, especially with some of I think he called some of them just basically dumb, like just dumb penalties that you're taking right now, and you're just not giving yourself a shot if you're that point. Again, this is just
that might be too much effort.
with the Titans and Preds right now, the Titan Preds Nashville sports, pro sports combo fan right now, of which there are many that listen to this program. Fun times right now that these people are going through.
Yeah. No, someone on the YouTube chat was like, boy, I really feel bad for Nashville sports talk. Yeah, but the thing is, when things are bad, that sometimes that's even better.
Don't feel bad for us
for sports
That's
talk. Actually,
don't feel bad for us. Feel bad for you all. It's not been fun to watch right now.
Yes.
Measuring cheek size.
Thank you.
Kurt says, look up the more common injury the Titans seem to have. The I don't want to play for this team-itis. There you go.
Well, I have wondered, and I think you do see this in the NFL, like when teams that are out of it and players get hurt later in the year, it's like, probably could come back in a week, but this one is now a 3-week injury. It's like, I'm just not feeling great.
Yeah.
Not feeling good out there.
Well, and that's not just the player. That's even the organization. In a lot of cases is like, we're not getting you more hurt and again, at that point. So that's the only, like, if you want to talk about tanking, that's the only place it really takes place is in lineup decisions, right? Where it's like, if it was a playoff game today, he'd go, but why?
Yeah, right. We've got a lot of interesting developments in college football that went down yesterday. We'll hit on some of those coming up next. Make sure you tune in to 93.3 FM Totally Hits Nashville tomorrow for MTSU football. The Blue Raiders taking on Liberty at home. Pregame starts at 10:30, kickoff at 12 o'clock. MTSU football coverage on 93.3 FM Totally Hits Nashville, presented by Sloan's Motorcycle ATV. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Join Jared Stillman, Chris Sanders, and Derek Mason at Twin Peaks in Cool Springs this Sunday For the pregame show, 9:30 to 11:30, they'll break down the Titans' Week 10 matchup against the Chargers, give you the latest updates before the game. Pregame show presented by Parman Tractor and Equipment, Sundeck Nashville, Sloan's Motorcycle ATV, and award-winning Blue Note Juke Joint and Blue Note Crossroads Bourbon. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser, intern Robert here with you on this Friday morning. Some college football headlines to get to from yesterday, Joe. Scott Strickland putting it out there at Florida. Billy Napier will remain the head coach of the Florida Gators. So entered the season, I think by the odds, as the coach most likely to get fired. Billy Napier, it's not gone overly well for Florida this year. Now, I will say they've played halfway decent in some of these games recently. They lose to Georgia this past week. And a statement released yesterday by Florida that keeping Billy Napier is the plan for them moving forward. Mixed reaction on this. I saw a lot of reaction around college football. It says, yeah, that's probably good. Lagway in particular needs some continuity. The recruiting's going pretty well for Napier, so it's the right move. And then I saw some reaction from Georgia fans and Tennessee fans and some other SEC fans that say, great, well done, way to go, Florida, keeping Billy Napier. So I think it's surprising to me that they came out with a statement like now and did that. But apparently Billy Napier sticking around as the head coach of the Florida Gators.
Well, it's just been, and again, by us too at the Athletic, but it's been framed so much here. Like, okay, is he saving his job or not?
Right.
Because, probably not if they lose, they lose a record. And I got to say, like, when Scott Strickland said before the season, what he said to one of our favorites, Paul Feinbaum, who we've been talking about a lot in the pre-show meeting.
Paul definitely heard it.
Yeah, no question. Paul heard it. Well, he said what he said. I mean, why go out that strong with that? Because there's always AD, votes of confidence, and those always lead to fires. But this was he's gonna be our coach for a long time. And I was like, okay, I think I need to take that seriously. Look, Billy Napier has not been a perfect coach by any means. I think he screwed up some stuff in the Tennessee game. They had a class that fell apart on him, but people who know that program well will tell you that the administration has been late on NIL and has screwed up some things. And there's an acknowledgement of that in the statement keeping him. So honestly, when you consider, and a lot of people brought this up, the revenue sharing that's coming and around 20 mil for your roster next year and a buyout north of 20 million, I do think that this could be another one of those things that is a little bit of a trend, right? A little bit of, got to stick it out and hold out to that buyout gets a little lower. I think it's they've played pretty well. They've hung in there and they're not terrible.
No.
And even with the quarterback injuries left and right. So I
Lagway's,
don't hate it.
Lagway, I think, has a chance. I mean, look, he's 5-star recruit. Lagway's got a chance to be pretty good.
Yeah.
You can see it with him. He's not polished yet, for sure. There's still some molding that's going to have to take place there with him. But I think you can see some promise there. And again, the recruiting has gone fairly well for Billy Napier. So we'll see what that looks like. Now, it is year 3. And look, if they come out next year and there's not pretty significant improvement, then we're probably back in the same spot that we've been in all year with him talking about his job. But clearly, Florida feels like he's the man for the job, and Strickland coming out this early and basically saying, yeah, he's going to be the coach next year. I did not expect that to happen.
It's strange, but I do think this is a situation where it's almost just been this foregone conclusion that he's fired.
Right.
Before
the year.
And the funny thing is, it's the foregone conclusion that he's fired because look at that schedule.
Right.
But it's also look at that schedule. Who?
Right.
It's an insane, impossible schedule.
Right.
They've navigated it pretty well. Better than I thought they would.
South Carolina will take on Vanderbilt tomorrow here in our city. And some interesting news on the South Carolina front yesterday. So Dylan Stewart, who is an excellent player for them, has made some big plays throughout the season. If you watch that Alabama game that they play where they almost took down Alabama, Dylan Stewart, a big part of that in that game. This from thestate.com. Quote, South Carolina on track to ensure that one of the most prolific freshmen in school history stays in Columbia for the 2025 college football season. Per source with a knowledge of the situation, Dylan Stewart's representation is in talks with South Carolina and the school's NIL collective, the Garnett Trust, about a 1-year deal worth upwards of 7 figures. He's got 5.5 sacks, which leads all freshmen in the FBS. He has been named one of 14 semifinalists for the Maxwell Award for Freshman of the Year, but in talks for a 7-figure NIL deal to stay in South Carolina.
There you go. Get out in front of it. Get out in front of it. So we're talking now about a very talented, very good, I think after 3 years, going to be a first-round pick kind of guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I think sometimes, players level off, and you don't know for sure, but probably. Like, he's that kind of a prospect. Get out in front of it. So 7 figures now for a very good player, but, a defensive lineman. 7 figures. That's a number, man.
Well, and think about the way it's coming up too. Like, the season's not even over yet, and it's like he's in talks to make sure that he will stay, because if they don't get this figured out, he might leave. He might enter the transfer portal.
Yeah.
Like, it's basically it's like a contract negotiation in professional sports is basically what's happening.
Exactly, and this is again why it's just when we get to the point of actual contracts that can be multiple years, which is kind of what Nico has. But I mean, but you need more of that, right? You need like reliable contracts with, you have agents who are registered and all these things that the pro sports have, and then you don't have to do this every year.
Well, but like, first off, I mean, good on South Carolina for, I guess, at least being willing to have this conversation and entertain this. But it's also like the South Carolinas and the Missouris of the world, teams that don't have the same NIL as some of these, Bamas and Georgias and Tennessees and all this stuff. Like, is this going to become a thing where you do your job, you recruit somebody, they come out and they start to play really well for you, and it's like, all right, well, I'm playing really well, and if you want me to stay, this money better match. Like, that's where we're headed right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, if the other teams that have all that money are coming at you, and they do and they will, and they're off, then it's like, I want to stay here, but here's what they're offering.
Right.
So again, this is why, then again, if you get to the point of actual labor management to some extent with multi-year contracts, then that would make sense.
Some news yesterday from Tennessee as well. And Joe, I know you've got a little bit more to say about this in the Rex rant coming up. Bob Kessling, who has been the longtime play-by-play man for Tennessee football, Tennessee basketball, announcing that he is retiring at the end of this basketball season. So Kessling, who has been, for basically people my generation, like it was John Ward for a long time, and John Ward was at the early part of my childhood. Ever since then, it's been Bob Kessling announcing that he is retiring at the end of this basketball season. So a longtime member of the Vol Network calling it quits at the end of this year.
Yeah, great career. And, I mean, just they don't really get nicer than Bob Kessling. And already people are talking. Let me just ask you this question. Would Mike Keith consider going back to Knoxville and being the Vols play-by-play announcer?
Look, Jared seems to think that, like, why would he do that? You're in the NFL, and I get that. I do think, like, some college jobs are better than others and comparable to NFL jobs. So if I had to guess, my answer would be no. Like, I think he'll probably stay with the Titans, and I would assume he loves being in Nashville and in that organization and all that stuff. I'd probably give him a call if I was Tennessee. That'd probably be a call. I tell you what, like, I
definitely give him a call.
Like,
They will.
If not, if it doesn't go that way, I would like to see John Wilkerson get it. I think he's really good.
Wilkerson's great. Yes. Wilkerson would be and also, shoot, Wilkerson might be nicer than Bob Kessling. My God. No, he does a great job with baseball. And that would be the logical, to me, step. But you swing for the fences.
Absolutely.
You swing for the fences with Mike Keith.
Let's go back to our 102.5 The Game phone line. Welcome in Josh to the program. Josh, good morning. Thanks for calling in.
What's up, buddy? Just a question, man. When you're speaking about the freshman kid from South Carolina and the NIL deal, just a quick conversation. Do you think those numbers could be thrown out there just for like collateral, like to kind of set the market or to showcase how much your value is to see if other teams are willing to jump in and maybe make a bigger offer. It's just the thought of the day, man, that maybe some of these agents that these kids have are looking at, like, can we get more money to go to another school? And I'm not for sure how that works. Just
Yep.
I'll hang up and listen.
Yep. Thanks for the call, Josh. Interesting thought by Josh.
Well, I think definitely there have definitely been cases of schools BSing players.
Yep.
There's no doubt. And agents BSing players. I mean, so that happens. I do think in this situation, if you look at the reporting on it and stuff, I mean, this is a reporter who covers that program, who you would assume if you cover a college football program, you better know the collective people awfully well. And I mean, the collective people are just about as important to talk to as the coaches and, and parents and all that stuff. So, I mean, this reads to me as them putting out for everybody else, hey, guys, don't bother coming after him because he is getting this money. And again, if he wasn't actually getting this money and this story comes out, then if you're the kid and his parents, aren't you enraged? Yeah. Then you're going somewhere else for sure. So I do think sometimes there's misinformation on this stuff for sure, but I think this one reads as this is actually what's happening.
Well, the Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode coming up next. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Sometimes he wakes up on the wrong side of the bed. And sometimes he's just, well, Joe.
Awkward moment. Let's do it.
This is the Rex Rant, now on Robby and Rexrode.
For 25 years, the Vol Network audience has known one voice. The unmistakable voice of Bob Kessler, voice of the Vols.
And it's football time in Tennessee. All the way to the checkerboard. Touchdown, Tennessee. McBee's got to fire at the buzzer. Good. Skylar McBee at 3 at the buzzer. This crowd just roaring now. Travis Stevens to the 20, to the 15, 10, 5. Touchdown, Travis Stevens. As the Volunteers have upset the #1 team in the country. Nothing better than a victorious locker room. Bob Kessling reporting. Sack from behind. The game is over. Tennessee's gone to Atlanta as the SEC Eastern Division champions.
It is that time of the day, time for the Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode. Check it out every morning here on the program. Joseph, the floor is yours.
We're going to take a little. Hey, I'll turn my own mic on, thanks. I just let me. Come on, Nick. Let me. I'm a big boy. I can push buttons.
Been in here in a while, and Kuharski can't do it.
Yeah, well,
he's just got to do it for him.
Kuharski, we need to hold his hand. We all know this, and I'm going to get to him too. By the way, I'm going to take you on a little journey here, which is a question, and then I'm going to go into something that happened in Interaction yesterday. That's just hilarious. But the question I have is this, and it's great. I'm glad that Nick, you played there. I heard Bob Kessling sound pretty excitable there on that one clip. It sounded like he was yelling, right? Sound like he was, kind of excited, like he had some oomph behind him. I feel like Tennessee fans bitch about him way more than they should. And I don't listen to him all the time, but I've listened to enough of Bob Kessling on both basketball and football to think he's a very professional, very prepared, appropriately excitable announcer. What is wrong with Bob? And before I want, because I need to ask you, Robby, because you to me are the voice of the reasonable Tennessee fan.
I am.
You want. So do you people want like someone who's just a complete slappy, fall all over himself homer? Is that the thing? Just like, that's what you want? He's a professional broadcaster. He's very good. And yet I feel like I've seen so many complaints. And then yesterday I see some Vol Twitter just rejoicing about this. So I ask you, Robby, what the heck? Why? And what do you think of Bob Kessling as an announcer?
I mean, I've always thought Bob Kessling was pretty good. Now, look, he's not John Ward, but who is?
Sure.
Right? Like that's a heck of a bar to live up to. Like Kessling has always been good to me. The versatility. I have enjoyed him calling both football and basketball. So, like I think he's been good. I'm probably the wrong person to ask about this because play-by-play is like one of the things I care least about, just in terms of like it doesn't take a whole lot for me to listen to a play-by-play. It's like, oh yeah, he's pretty good. Cool. I can listen to it. Like if you know what you're talking about and you're not fumbling all over yourself all the time, generally speaking, I can listen to you. Like I always thought Bob Kessling was really good. So I have seen the complaining. I've listened to him lately. It doesn't sound a whole lot different to me than it always has. So I don't really know.
So people are trying to say it's gotten worse or something? Is that?
They're trying to say that it's like something will happen. And it's just like, oh, touchdown Tennessee. And there's no excitement level to it. Which it's like, I mean, I've heard him make some calls. Now, is he always as excitable as he was in that clip? No. But
you should save that for big moments.
Yeah, you should save that.
I mean, what was the call when Juwan Jennings beat Georgia? I'm sure it wasn't the same as the 5th touchdown against Kent State.
Exactly. Like it's a little bit different. So I've seen the complaining. I think it largely is symptomatic of some of our times as a whole where people just like things to complain about. That's my general reaction to it.
Okay. So another Vols fan who I a great follow on Twitter, which is Vincenzo V Love at He Hate V. So his tweet, and I just saw the next tweet from him, but his tweet was boring Bob Kessling. That's the tweet to him. And then, so this is then where we take a quick turn here. This is a tweet that he, which I responded to. He said, Pete, because then everybody's like, Bob Kessling's awesome, and I do think Bob Kessling's awesome as a person, and I think he's really good. And his tweet is, Vincenzo's tweet is, people in sports media love nothing more than sucking bleep, licking bleep, I don't even know if I can say the last thing, blowing bleep of their colleagues. Disgusting to see. And of course I made a joke like, yeah, just ask Stilly and Paulie, and then Kaharski doesn't get the joke.
Kaharski's just taking shots at you.
Kaharski went to an Ivy League school and has like can't understand sarcasm. Like, dude,
now say you suck. Everyone sucks. Google Gaga.
play that again. Seriously, let's end this on a strong note.
I may now say you suck. Everyone sucks. Google Gaga. Suck.
All right, I forgive you, PK, just for that. But seriously, buy a sense of humor, bro. Like, I'll give you like $5. Go buy a sense of humor.
Apparently, according to him, you are a slappy for the rest of the media.
Yeah, I know. Well, we can have an argument about that next week. Again, sorry, like respecting people and not bitching about everything means that you're in a love fest. Yeah, like having some reasonable, like human behavior toward people means you're in a total slurp fest. Yeah.
Rexrode.
Anyway, Bob Kessling's good. Everybody shut up.
We'll have Teron Davenport with us coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
ESPN's Turon Davenport, Talking Titans, now on Robby and Rexrode on ESPN, 102.5 The Game, and the Game Nashville app.
It is that time of the week. We welcome in Turon Davenport, ESPN NFL Nation Titans reporter, host of Talking with TD on our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. TD, good morning, man. How we doing?
Hey, good morning. What's going on?
Not a whole lot, man. Appreciate you taking time to be with us. On the injury front, L'Jarius Sneed dealing with the quad. I guess as you look at him, first off, based on what you've seen from him on the field so far this year, now the quad injury that he's dealt with, we know about the knee stuff coming from Kansas City. What's your concern long-term with L'Jarius Sneed that he is going to be the shutdown number one corner that the Titans expected him to be when he made the trade?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's nothing about the knee that is an issue. It's all the quad right now. And before that, he had a hamstring. And you get those soft tissue things. I know the MRI came back, and there were some things that were deeper than they thought. And obviously, it's caused him to miss quite a bit of time. As far as being the shutdown corner, it is something that you have to question. I mean, yes, he, for the most part, like the first couple games, he had some, solid outing. DJ Moore and Keenan Allen and Rome Odunze didn't do well against him. Outside of, I believe DJ Moore had a catch on a fourth down. But just long story short, it hasn't been exactly where you would expect it, especially after seeing the Colts game. Alec Pierce cooked him, a couple times. And then obviously the touchdown by Pittman. So it was one of those things where you're kind of like, okay, well, let's see how things come into shape. But then he had the injury in that Colts game and haven't really seen him since. So that's been the issue.
I mean, for the record, Dr./Detective Stilley is a little dubious on the.
Let's move on. That's pure foolishness.
What is it? Is it arrogant ignorance? Is that the term? Arrogant ignorance.
Arrogant ignorance, and it's starting to become intentional ignorance too, with the whole ball not bouncing away thing. It's a figure of speech, right?
Okay.
Figure of speech.
Yeah. Do we? I was going to say, do we want to get into the Stilley ran? I don't really care. Stilley ran. They can whatever. They can figure it out. What about quarterback, TD? It seems like Levis is trending like with the full participation yesterday, and the way people are talking that it's going to happen. You expect him to play, and what do you think this? If so, like what do you think all this time away may do for him?
Yeah, you mentioned it. The full participation yesterday. That was the major thing, the major hurdle. I think once you get there, then you're starting to see things come into shape. We'll see what it is today. I mean, if it's not full today, I would be very surprised. But this is what happened a couple of weeks ago. He went, limited, full, and then back to limited on Friday. And then next thing you know, Rudolph is starting. So I think he does start. I think he gets in there, and it's just one of those things where he has to not be desperate and press too much. That balance, right? Being able to manage the situation correctly, take those shots when they are there, but not take those shots when trying to force it, right? And when you look at this game against the Chargers, you got two ball control offenses. The possessions are going to be limited, so you got to maximize them, but also, like I said, manage the particular situation. Fortunately for Levis, the offense has gotten better around him, right? You look at the offensive line, and I mean, go figure, Dylan Radins has been out, and may not play this week. But other than that, I mean, it's kind of come into shape there. And obviously with Lloyd Cushenberry not being there is going to be difficult. So we'll see what happens.
So, TD, I heard you talking with Jared about this yesterday. Obviously at 2-6, nobody has done a good enough job when you're 2-6. And Brian Callahan certainly has some room for improvement in many areas as they move forward. But you did talk about the play design and liking some things that you've seen there. What specifically, as the season has come more into focus here, have you liked about the play design and some of the things that have been available to the Titans offensively?
I mean, honestly, the scheme is kind of like 7-Eleven, right? I mean, it seems like there's somebody always open when you watch these plays, the all 22, and sometimes the quarterback sees them, sometimes they don't, and sometimes the quarterback doesn't have time to throw it to them, and other times the quarterback throws it to them and they drop it. So that's why I'm so adamant on saying that it's not just one particular thing. It's a collection of things. that have to come together. But I mean, that playbook, I like it. I like the ability to get guys open. I would like to see them layer the plays a little bit more, and that's something that Callahan has continuously worked to do better. But I mean, for the most part, I think the scheme is fine.
So, TD, I want to take this to a sort of a bigger picture question we were talking about earlier this week. I guess it was part of. I keep going back to Stilly arguments, but I mean, this is a worthwhile topic. I think all these, and I think there are different stories with different people. But if you're a Titans fan right now, you are looking around this league and you're seeing all these guys who were here who weren't as good. I mean, really, since A.J. Brown, who of course was great here and continued to be great after, and Derrick Henry also was great here, but he's having this insane season, and Malik Willis and what he's doing, and now you have Elijah Molden, and he's like a guy who's really doing well with the Chargers, et cetera, et cetera. How do you view that collectively? Because obviously Titans fans are sick of it, frankly, and they're wondering, they're scratching their heads like, why does this always happen?
Yeah, I mean, each of those has their own individual situation. Malik Willis had gotten better. I mean, go back to the Saints game. He played really well in that game, executed a late drive to get the W even. So it's not like he wasn't playing good here. He got the opportunity. And like I said with Jarrett yesterday, there's something to when the coach shows confidence in you in a situation, right? 3rd and 18, they didn't call it a draw. They let him throw that deep crosser to Christian Watson and get the first down. I mean, those are the things that will make a player better, having that confidence of the coaching staff. Elijah Molden, I think it was just opportunities, getting to play more, and he's just managed to do what he's always done, be in the right place at the right time. Like, you look, 2 of his interceptions came off of tips. Elijah Molden was always around the football, but I mean, collectively, they didn't always get their hands on the ball and tip it for the interception to happen. Tier Tart, he blocked a field goal attempt, and he got the punt, whatever it was. He got the game ball. He's done that with the Titans before. So yeah, I mean, guys have gone elsewhere and done a bit better. But I mean, like, it's not like they went from an undrafted free agent to an MVP. So it's just a little bit over exaggerated. But again, like, each one is their own individual situation.
So, TD, Titans have the Chargers coming up this weekend. Jim Harbaugh done a good job to this point. He's an interesting cat out there in L.A., as we all know. So, obviously he's come in and has kind of changed that culture there and shifted some things around in terms of the style in which that they play. After having watched them this year, looking ahead to the matchup Sunday, how do you think the Titans match up in this one against Justin Herbert and that Chargers team?
Well, first off, you say Harbaugh is a very interesting cat. You're 100% right. Every single Michigan player I come across, I always say, man, tell me a Harbaugh story. If you start doing that, you will get a bunch of laughs because they have a bunch of stories. It's hilarious.
I can only imagine.
As far as this team, I mean, I think he's done an excellent job of marrying that physical mindset. Remember, this is a team, man. They say, you know what, we're going to shoot a shoe 32 times in a row. We're going to run the ball on you, Penn State. So the physicality is just, it's ingrained in Jim Harbaugh, but he's also done a good job of marrying that with the passing attack. You see the play action. You see them take their shots at times. And I think, when you're facing this team, you just got to be in for it's a dogfight, right? And I think that's the thing. And that's why you have these long possessions. Greg Roman has brought in, that rushing attack. But I think they've done a good job of balancing that too, getting more creative in the passing game by bringing in Mark Trestman and having him help put together the offense as well, the passing game. So he's done a good job just finding that balance and really taking a lot of things off of Justin Herbert's plate, but still allowing him to go out and do what he has to do in times when he needs to.
All right, D-line question. Do you believe Jeff Simmons played his best game of the season last week? And is T'Vondre Sweat leveling off at all right now?
Yeah, I believe Simmons did play his best game. He talks about impacting the quarterback in addition to sacks. And that first Amani Hooker touchdown, like he fueled that. He made that happen. Or excuse me, interception. He made that happen. Getting the one-on-ones, dominating them. I think T'Vondre Sweat, I'm not going to say he's leveling off. I know he's dealing with that injury, and a big fella like that with a knee is going to make things a little tough. You would like to see more impact, more pressures, and those types of things, but I don't think he's leveling off as much as I think it's just one of those things where he's kind of in a bit of a rut, and the statistics aren't happening there, but he's still out there, getting double teams at times. That's why Simmons got some one-on-ones, and he's still out there occupying gaps and things like that. But, I mean, you definitely would like to see better play.
Interesting strategy, TD, by the Patriots for all the one-on-ones they gave Simmons last week.
Yeah, very. Interesting is putting it nicely.
Yeah, no doubt about that. TD, great stuff as always, man. Hope you have a great time out in L.A. this weekend, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right, for sure. Appreciate you guys.
Absolutely. Teron Davenport joins us every Friday morning at 8 o'clock here on the program. We'll talk more Titans. Got a lot of your thoughts to get to on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Pigskin Pick'em coming up at 8:30. All that ahead. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Check out this week's Nashville's Best Deal. It's from Black Rabbit. Black Rabbit, a great spot to enjoy some Nashville vibes with craft cocktails, delicious food, and live music just steps from iconic venues. Perfect for a night out, snagging a $50 gift card for $25. A fantastic way to experience it. So get yours today at thegamenashville.com/deals while supplies last. We'll have Pigskin Pick'em coming up here in just a few minutes around 8:30. A close competition from what I hear in Pigskin Pick'em, by the way.
Yeah, we got a new leader in Pigskin Pick'em. Let me quickly get to Stilly's grievance. He thinks he can text me and bitch at me and then me not say it on the air. Nah, bro. That's not happening. So see, he's mad because I didn't yell at TD there for saying that Rand said it was a figure, or Rand's ball bounced the wrong way is a figure of speech. I think we've talked several times on the show now that I don't agree with that. I don't agree with TD. I've heard D-May say it. I mean, he was talking about specific plays that happened in the game. So, I mean, if Rand after the fact claims that it was a figure of speech, okay. I mean, you can claim that. I don't know how anybody would read that and then jump to that though. I mean, he was talking about stuff that happened in the game. So I disagree with TD, disagree with D-Mace. And Jared's mad that I didn't yell at TD there. So
yeah, I guess so.
I say my yelling for you, Jared.
Well, if it was
good call on the quad, though.
My advice from a couple weeks ago remains the same. Don't use it again. Titans fans are not going to want to hear about the ball bouncing the wrong way, regardless of the context. Again,
yeah, like we said, and we've talked about this, but hey, we can keep revisiting the ball bouncing. He used the same expression last year after the
he did.
And that in that case, like, again, no one wants to hear that stuff, but that was a little bit more general, full season. And also, frankly, that was a team that lost close games. So, like, it was a little bit more reasonable to say
they just fired their head coach. And he was like, oh, good. I'm up here after the coach gets fired, not the owner. Let's talk about this.
Right. But, like the ball bouncing there, I mean, it just – when people in these positions, I know Rand was kind of put on the spot there by Nick Suss, and again, good job, Nick Suss, getting him right after the game. Won't talk to the larger press corps. I saw Adam Peters the other day, by the way, who was with Rand in San Fran, do a press conference. Of course, things are going well for him in Washington, but people just basically want someone to say, yeah, we just haven't done. We got to do better. That's it. Like, yeah, we got to do better. We haven't played well enough. We haven't done our jobs well, all that stuff. That's really what people want to hear.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes that's what you got to do in professional sports. Sometimes that's what's required. So,
yes. So anyway, thanks, Stilly. Thanks for weighing in, buddy.
What do you make of the matchup between the Chargers and the Titans? Chargers a 7.5-point favorite. We'll get into that specifically here in a few minutes with Pigskin Pick'em, but it has been interesting. It has been interesting to watch. They're 5-3. We talked about the AFC playoff picture earlier. They would be in the playoffs if the season ended today. Harbaugh, I think, has done a good job. Harbaugh's a good coach. Like, we've seen him in the NFL before. It's not like this is his first time being an NFL head coach. So we know that the results have been there. I mean, Justin Herbert through 8 games, completing 65% of his passes. He's thrown for 1,725 yards, 7 an attempt. 10 touchdowns, 1 interception for Justin Herbert on the season to this point. So he's been playing some pretty good football and not turning the football over. And Titans hope they can force a couple on Sunday, but Herbert playing pretty well right now under Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah, and Harbaugh believes what he believes. And some people were right for a long time, right? And he was a college football coach.
Yep.
That what he does is a little outdated. But then last year, what Michigan did was win a national championship really by just mowing people over. They had a first-round quarterback too. But he's a physical football guy, always has been. Run the ball, play defense, and the Chargers have allowed the fewest points in the NFL, I believe. Yes, they have. They have allowed the fewest points in the NFL this year, 101 points. And that's really the stat that matters most.
Yeah.
So it's going to be I mean, the Titans, can the Titans keep the Chargers under 17? Because that's my ceiling for the Titans.
Yeah.
I'm going to set that, and I feel pretty good about setting that number.
They did get 20 last week.
They did. In overtime against the Patriots at home. They did. They blew past their little ceiling there.
The one thing I'll say about the Chargers, realizing fully that I'm about to say this and then talk about a game against the Titans in the same scenario. They have played so far this season the Raiders, the Panthers, the Broncos, the Cardinals, the Saints, the Browns. Not exactly the greatest competition that we've seen from the Chargers to this point. Now, you can only play, I mean, they've also played Pittsburgh, Kansas City. They lost both those games. You can only play who the schedule says you play. So I get all that. I'm just saying I'm interested to see like if they're actually legitimately playoff worthy as the season moves along here.
No, it's a fair point. I mean, the good teams they play, they lost to the Steelers, lost to the Chiefs. Good game,
Yep.
but everybody plays the Chiefs close. They lost again. All their games are grinders. I mean, the Cardinals. I'm impressed that they went out there and gave up 17 to the Cardinals,
right?
But they lost because they only scored 15. But like their points per, it helps when you play the Panthers and give up 3, and play the Raiders and give up 10, and play the Saints and give up 8, and play the Browns and give up 10.
Right.
It has been a very light schedule. No, I mean they could be fraudulent.
Well, they could be. And by the way, so I say all those teams, and then there's the Tennessee Titans that they play on Sunday, and it's for the same thing.
So if you hate the Chargers or hate Harbaugh, then you're just like, are they ever going to play anybody good? And here come the Titans. What do they? I mean, so then they get into a run with little Bengals, little Ravens, little Falcons, little Chiefs, little Bucks. Yeah, okay.
Oh, that Bengals game could be huge for them.
What's that?
That Bengals game could be huge for both them and Cincinnati.
No doubt. And that is a Sunday night, I think. Yeah, that should not be flexed. So, yeah, I mean, they're obviously they play solid defense. They run the football. They have a tremendously talented quarterback who I think overall is going to benefit from Jim Harbaugh being his coach.
He hasn't thrown an interception in 6 weeks, by the way. He's done a really good job of taking care of the ball. Last 3 games for Herbert, 27 of 39 for 349 against Arizona. Against the Saints, 20 of 32, 279, 2 touchdowns. And last week against Cleveland, 18 of 27, 282 yards, 2 touchdowns. So he's kind of in the zone right now, playing pretty well.
There
you go, Titans. You don't have either one of your starting corners. Have fun.
Yeah. For some reason, when you talk about him not throwing a pick, by the way, Lamar Jackson right now, 24-2.
That's pretty good.
Last year when he won the MVP, he had 10 touchdowns at this point in the season. He has 24 touchdowns.
Yeah, he's going to win it again.
Picks. He might, right?
He's
the leader.
Does there become fatigue for him winning MVP at some point?
It's possible. I mean, I think a lot of times people look for someone else. I mean, just like Mahomes will end up having way too few MVPs, probably, right?
Your boy Brady, yeah.
But I don't know. Yeah, he should have won them all every year. I don't know. Right now, I mean, who are the best contenders? I mean, Jared Goff is there.
Yeah.
Now, again, to me, he is a beneficiary.
Yeah.
He's very good. He's a beneficiary. Lamar drives the thing. I mean, Lamar drives the thing. Lamar he's just impossible to deal with. Jaden Daniels, to me, might be the third guy, right?
I'd probably go Josh Allen, third guy.
Yeah, that's true. You got it. Yeah,
Jaden Daniels would be after
Jaden Daniels
that.
would be fourth. You're right. Yeah, Josh Allen.
Let's find the odds here. Lamar is the favorite at plus 170 on FanDuel Sportsbook. Josh Allen is at 2 at plus 340. Mahomes at 3 at plus 500, which I would not have him there, but they're undefeated. And it's Patrick Mahomes,
and they're unbeaten.
Jared Goff at 4. Jared Goff and Jaden Daniels are tied at 4th at plus 800. And then there's Jalen Hurts at 5.
Okay. Yeah, that's the thing. Mahomes, the numbers are not great, but he always makes a winning play.
Yeah.
I mean, he makes a couple plays every game. So how you can always make the case he's the most valuable player.
You can.
So,
I think Lamar is running away with it right now.
It's just what he's doing is, and again, someone pointed out on the text line today, well, it was another rip on Stilly. Sorry, Stilly. I mean, this is not me doing this, but it's a good point. The Ravens can't come back. Well, they were down 21 last night. And so they can come back too. They don't just have to be front runners. They can come back and win big games.
We'll have Pigskin Pick'em coming up next. Take more of your thoughts. 615-737-1025, our phone number. Robby and Rexrode, 1025-1063, the game.
Now, it's time for Pigskin Pick'em with Robby and Rexrode on ESPN 1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
It is time for Pigskin Pick'em here on Robby and Rexrode. Titans taking on the Chargers. Tennessee hosting Mississippi State. Vanderbilt taking on that goober Shane Beamer and South Carolina this weekend. We'll get to all that and more in the competition. Joe Rexrode, a standings update, a new leader in the competition.
Before I get to this, I want to remind everyone in the Robby and Rexrode Fantasy League that I'm 7-2 and I just beat Nick. Hope you enjoyed that. Take that L. But you've surpassed me in this. I had a terrible week. 2-4, 2 points, no lock. Nick 4-2 gets his lock, 5 points. Robby, you had a bad week too, but you got your lock, 2-4, 3 points. Yes. So Nick 32-28, 8-2 in his locks, 40 points, first place. I have the best record at 34-26, but at 4-6 on my locks, terrible. 38 points, 2 points behind. Robby, right there, 31-29, 4-6 on your locks, 35 points. It is a very good race.
Tighten up the competition a little bit.
That's right.
We begin with South Carolina and Vanderbilt. South Carolina, a big win last week at home. They are a 4.5-point favorite in this game on the road at Vanderbilt. Nick Keiser, you are in first place, which means you're up first.
Yeah.
Who you have between the Gamecocks and the Commodores?
Yeah, let's go with Diego Pavia's team. I think this will be a doom and gloom for Shane Beamer, for your sake, Robby, and mine. So I'm going with the Doors this weekend.
Joe Rexrode, South Carolina, favored by 4.5 in this matchup.
I hate to be a hater. I know you're going to do like Vandy Lock because you hate Shane Beamer so much. South Carolina is hard to figure out. Vanderbilt's not hard to figure out. It's a solid football team. It's a good football team, okay? And congrats to them. It's awesome they're going to a bowl game. I think when South Carolina turns it on, that's a really good team. It's for some reason, I know it doesn't really matter because Vanderbilt's so different this year, but they have kind of had their number. I'm going to go South Carolina.
Give me Vanderbilt in this game. I'm not going to lock down on it because that just does not work for me with Vanderbilt this year. South Carolina poorly coached, as we all know. Vanderbilt will win this game outright. They will definitely cover the spread plus 4.5. Give me the Doors to take down the Gamecocks, and we can listen to Shane Beamer in the postgame whine about how his team's not ranked, and Vanderbilt is. So there you go. Vanderbilt's going to win this game tomorrow. Take it to the bank. Mississippi State taking on Tennessee at Neyland Stadium, the fourth straight home game for the Vols. It feels like they've been at home for a while, which they have.
And they play at night every week.
And they play at night every single week at this point. Joe Rexrode, Tennessee, favored by 24.5 in this matchup. Who you got between Mississippi State and Tennessee?
The only pause here for me is Josh Heupel usually loves heaping points on everybody. I mean, there's some people who don't like him, and he seems to not like a lot of people, but he's really good friends with Jeff Lebby.
He is.
That said, Mississippi State is cheeks, and I think Tennessee is going to win by 30+. Give me Tennessee.
I totally hear you on the Jeff Lebby thing, and I do. They're very good friends. Came up together kind of in the Oklahoma system. Having said that, Tennessee needs a dominant showing. Like they need one, and this is a game to go get one. So I'll go Tennessee minus the 24.5. If they have first half scoring problems in this one, Joe, they got a big problem. Mississippi State's defense is awful, and Tennessee should be able to do whatever it wants to offensively in this game. Nick Keiser, Vols favored by 24.5.
Yeah, looking forward to Dylan Sampson piling on his rushing touchdown record that is active still. Did that, I believe, last week. So looking forward to seeing the Vols win this one in an easy matchup.
Titans taking on the Chargers out in L.A. on Sunday. L.A. a 7.5-point favorite in this matchup. I'll start on this one. I don't really know what to make of the Chargers yet. The Titans did get a win last week. It looks like Will Levis is going to be back in there. I have questions about what that Ridley connection is going to look like with him back in there. Ridley feels like he's making progress, but we'll see if Will Levis can continue that. I think the Chargers ultimately end up winning this game by about 10, so I'll take the Chargers minus the 7.5. Nick Keiser, Chargers favored by 7.5 in this one.
Yep, I'm feeling good about the Chargers. I think Herbert gets it done against the Titans defense. Give me L.A.
Joe Rexrode, Titans and Chargers. L.A. favored by 7.5.
All right. Well, I've been fading, and I keep disagreeing with you guys. I think the Chargers win like a 3-4 point game, but I like the half a lot. I like the half point there. Give me the Titans and the 7.5.
Going with the Titans plus the 7.5. We move to the individual portion of the competition. Nick Keiser, your first individual selection.
Yeah, heading back over to college football where Caroline Fenton's Heisman favorite, Cam Ward, I believe that they get the job done over Georgia Tech this weekend. They are minus 10.5 over them. So, yeah, looking forward to Miami rolling.
Well, I had this before you said it, so I'll go ahead and go in direct opposition to you. Give me Georgia Tech plus 10.5 against Miami. I like the half a lot in that one. I think Miami ends up winning by about 10. I don't know that I fully trust Miami. They're kind of all over the place. They're winning all the games. They haven't played a whole lot of very good competition yet, but I think Georgia Tech keeps it close. I think Miami will win by 10. So Georgia Tech covers. Give me the plus 10.5 for Georgia Tech. Joe Rexrode, your first individual selection.
I like that. I know one of you is going to lose. Unfortunately, it means one of you is going to win. It's funny because I considered that game too, and I was like, I'm leaving it alone. But I think you can make a case either way. Let's go Oklahoma at Missouri. Missouri is at home plus 2.5. Give me Missouri and make it my lock. I think Oklahoma is not good. And Missouri has been disappointing, but they're going to beat Oklahoma by 7, 10, 13, 16 points.
I'll take
something like in there.
More
than 2.5. They'll win by 3. I feel good about that. That's my lock.
So Missouri is plus 2.5 or minus? I'm sorry, I missed that one.
Missouri is plus 2.5.
It's kind of surprising me.
Yes. I saw that. I'm like, really? Okay, thank you.
So going with Missouri plus the 2.5 against Oklahoma. Nick Keyser, your second individual selection.
Back over to the National League. I'm going to go with the 49ers getting Christian McCaffrey back this weekend, by the way. Going up against the Bucs. They are a 6.5 point favorite and make it my lock this weekend. The Niners got McCaffrey and their weapon back, but question is, will Debo play? I guess we'll find out.
Going with San Francisco minus the 6.5 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Joe Rexrode, your second individual selection.
Wait, I'm sorry. Did you say that was your lock?
Yeah, he did.
Yep.
Yeah, that's your lock. Okay. Man. So I sometimes put more than like I need, and then it's like I'm gonna leave the college one I was gonna do alone. Let's go Bills Colts. Bills at Colts. Colts are plus 4 at home. I think the Bills are going to win this handily. Give me the Bills.
I have the Bills minus the 4 locking down. I'm locking down on Buffalo. I think Buffalo's going to win this game by approximately 17 points. I saw this line, immediately knew it was going to be my lock. Give me Buffalo minus the 4, locking down against Indianapolis. Joe Rexrode, your final individual selection.
And then I'm going Jets at Cardinals. At Cardinals, another home dog that I'm a little puzzled by. Cardinals plus 1.5. I understand the Jets could, they have talent, they could get it rolling, but the Cardinals are pretty good, guys. The Cardinals are pretty freaking good. Give me the Cardinals plus the 1.5.
One with the Cardinals plus the 1.5 against the New York Jets. Nick Keyser, your final individual selection.
Yes, final selection brought to you by intern Robert and I agreeing on a pick. We're taking Alabama over LSU this weekend. Bama is a minus 2.5 favorite.
We got to quit picking the same games. I'm going Alabama minus 2.5 as well. I said it a couple weeks ago that these are the type of games that Brian Kelly loses, and then he went out there and got smoked by Texas A&M. These are definitely the types of games that Brian Kelly loses, and he will do so yet again coming up at home this weekend. Alabama minus 2.5. Wouldn't be surprised if Alabama wins by about 17 in this game.
Are these the kinds of games that Kalen DeBoer wins?
I don't know.
We will find out.
We will find out.
I can assure you that the gap is closing.
Nice.
Thank you, Jeremy.
That's an oldie but a goodie. I couldn't mess with that one either. I mean, I'm really interested to see. I mean, you may be right for sure, and I'm with you on Brian Kelly. Man, like that win over Ole Miss, that's the one that really stunned me because they really were just losing the whole game and they found a way to win. So I don't know. This is going to be a great game, and it's just a huge game. I mean, the loser of this game, the consequence is pretty severe.
How do you view Garrett Nussmeier? We talked a little bit with him yesterday about what the draft could look like with Caroline. There are people that believe that he is the highest ceiling in the draft. Like if he decided to go this year, Jim Nagy, who does stuff with the Senior Bowl, was talking about that, says he believes he's got the highest ceiling. There are some people that think he's going to be a really good NFL quarterback. You see him make some throws every now and then where you're like, yeah, that's pretty good. And then you see him make some throws and some decisions where you're like, man, that was bad from Garrett Nussmeier.
Yeah, I think he is going to be a pro. I think he's going to start in the NFL someday. I like the idea that people have, go back, and this is like how things have changed. Go back to school, get a sweet NIL check, and get better before you get into the grind or the NFL. So, but I think he's quite good. And yeah, at the times he'll make the head scratch you like a young quarterback does, but I think he's on his way.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. Busy weekend coming up in the world of sports. The Titans, the Vols, Vanderbilt. We'll get into all of it next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063, the game. Tune in to 94.9 The Fan tonight for Vanderbilt women's basketball. Commodores will be at Memorial Gym taking on Austin Peay. Tip-off at 6:30. Pregame begins at 6:15. Coverage also available on the 94.9 The Fan app and at 949thefan.com. Also, 94.9 The Fan tomorrow at 6:30 for our college football game of the week. Alabama taking on LSU, presented by Twin Peaks Restaurants. Take your tailgate to Twin Peaks, home of 29-degree drafts and wall-to-wall sports. We are live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Busy weekend this weekend. Joe, Tennessee should handle business against Mississippi State. I thought Nico took another step last week, had a couple of drop touchdowns that would have made his numbers look even better, but pretty good stuff from Nico against Kentucky. I think an opportunity for that passing game to continue to take a step this week against Mississippi State. And it is kind of an interesting situation here from the Georgia perspective. Georgia's got a big game this week against Ole Miss on the road, and then they got Tennessee next week. Tennessee against a Mississippi State team that they should be able to handle fairly easily in this game. I'm interested to see, number one, Georgia Ole Miss, how that shakes out. And number two, kind of what Tennessee can get done to make sure that they're as ready to go as they possibly can be for Georgia the next week.
Don't get anybody hurt. That is the number one. Don't get anybody hurt. That's the number one thing. Yeah, score like 4 touchdowns in the first half. I mean, things are going to average out. Maybe they'll have like 60 points at halftime, and then like the last month will actually look like sort of okay. But yeah, Nico. Man, you look at his numbers last week, how he played, and then the plays that were not made for him, what kind of a week would he have had?
He was really good last week.
He was. Good. I think it's the best he's played for sure. Again, against a legitimate defense. So now can you get momentum, keep momentum, and take it into Georgia? Don't get anybody hurt. That's number one. I still feel like, and maybe the second half against Kentucky blows it up a little bit, but there's just like a little bit of like a confidence, things not quite clicking on offense. It's been all year long, but it's like I've changed. Like at one point this year, it was like, man, this offense looks like last year's offense. It's just like, it's kind of stuck in the mud, and I don't think that anymore. I mean, I think you can see it now. It can be a lot better than that. So do that, blow up Mississippi State and get ready for Georgia. Because if you play good offense at Georgia against a team that certainly has had your number, but if you can go out on there and execute and make the plays that are there to be made, I think your defense is going to give you a chance to win the game.
Yep, you got a chance in that one. Vanderbilt, South Carolina. You mentioned South Carolina. It's been difficult to figure them out. They've had some games where they looked awesome this year, and then they got absolutely smoked by Kentucky earlier in the year. They've had some just stinkers as well. So I don't really know what to expect from South Carolina. Vanderbilt's going to play well. Vanderbilt's played well all year. They've been in every game to this point. Can they pull it out, get win number 7? And I'll say this, Joe. If they win tomorrow, they got LSU and Tennessee to close out the season here, and they could absolutely make it pretty interesting, I think, in both of those games. I'm interested to see what Vanderbilt looks like tomorrow. Last week, Auburn did a pretty good job against that Vanderbilt offense. So was that Auburn figuring something out that South Carolina could try to take advantage of? Does the offense get back to being pretty productive tomorrow against South Carolina? Interested to see, but a big opportunity here for Vanderbilt to pick up another win after they're already bowl eligible.
Just to be clear, I think you said the other way around. They destroyed Kentucky on the road.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
They destroyed Kentucky 31-6, but then they, at home, Ole Miss destroys them 27-3. It is 2 straight weeks. So, basically, though, since the Ole Miss game, right, they go to Bama, they have a real chance to win. They go to Oklahoma. I mean, I figure that's a good game.
Yeah.
35-9, wreck Oklahoma. And then they come home and 44-20 wreck what I thought was really good. So there is.
And we're in there. Probably should have beat LSU earlier in the year.
And then the LSU game earlier in the year, they lost Sellers. Absolutely. And we'd be talking about very different things with South Carolina right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like Vandy. They can rue that one and the Bama one, but especially, yes, LSU. Of course, problem for Vanderbilt is there's Georgia State, and there's just no excuse. But I just feel like the trend for them, and that's why I picked them, is a little bit more. They're a little bit of a wagon.
They look pretty good. I'm going Vanderbilt.
I know you are, and I know you want
Clark Lee,
it.
a much better coach.
I mean, just understand that, look, this city needs like a good sports team. So, like everyone should rally around Vanderbilt. But if South Carolina wins, every single Shane Beamer reaction video, locker room speech, all that stuff, I will be texting them to you.
Well, you won't be the only
I
one.
just want you to know.
That locker room, I'm not kidding you. I had like 35 people send me the Beamer stuff last week. I was like, I got to stop talking about it. Because every time he does something now, I'm notified of it, and it just infuriates me.
Right. We all know how much you hate him. I get why you hate him, and he's not going to stop doing the things that make you hate him.
I know.
So you're kind of
probably a good thing.
You're kind of stuck until he's fired. Like if he gets fired and has to kind of like Butch. We never hear from Butch. I'm sure Butch said a bunch of dumb crap now.
No, I'm sure he does.
No one has any idea.
Yeah,
that's what you need. You need Shane Beamer at a Group of 5 school, and you just sort of fade. But right now, he's doing all right, man.
Yeah.
They got Dylan Stewart coming back for $1.5 million next year.
He's going to pay to leave after what Vanderbilt does to him tomorrow. It's going to be awesome.
Oh, my goodness.
Hello, high school football playoffs tonight. My beloved Hendersonville Commandos are in need of a bus to get to Memphis. I've seen this circulating around my Facebook feed, and Nick Barras of News Channel 5 put this out there as well. The charter bus taking them to Memphis for the playoff game tonight has canceled on them, and they got to find one today to get there.
Wow.
So, interesting stuff. You got any advice on that if you're out there? Hendersonville High School looking for some help right now.
Help them out. Yeah, I'm very nervous right now. We got a big one in Nolensville. Got the Knights Tullahoma. We own them from last year. They're coming into our place. We got a big tailgate plan. My TV 30. It's going to be on tonight live.
I'm looking forward to it.
So,
why are you nervous?
Because my kid's playing in a high school football playoff game.
He's playing.
Okay. I mean, I know that you're young.
I sound
but
like
you
PK.
don't get why a parent would be nervous about their kid.
Yeah, for safety.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's it.
That's one of them. I want to win. I want my kid to not get hurt.
Keiser, why are you throwing stuff out there? You want to talk any crap to Tullahoma while we got it?
Yeah, have you heard anything bad about Tullahoma?
Tullahoma you'd like to
bulletin
throw
board
out there this
material.
week?
Sounds like you guys do.
More like Tullahoma, right? Boy. Yeah. Okay. That didn't quite work.
That one didn't land.
That didn't work. Hey, I respect them. I have full respect for them, and we need to beat them tonight. Friday is for Knights.
What are you nervous for?
Yeah. Why would you be nervous, weirdo?
Who cares about your kid? It's all going to be okay.
Oh,
Nick. The gift that keeps on giving, our Nick Keiser here on the program.
You're welcome.
Who came? By the way, when Nick came, we played our worst game this year. Stay away.
That is facts. That is major facts.
Do not show up.
Yeah, but you also had 3 injuries too.
Do not show up.
I know you're like that voodoo doll from the Brady Bunch.
Harbinger of death, Nick Keiser. That does it for us today. Jason Big Joe is coming up next. Hope everybody has a great weekend. You're listening to 102.5, 106.3 The Game.